To be a freak or to not be a freak? That is the question. What is the answer? Hola, beautiful people. It's your girl, Miss Amazing, so amazing, and welcome to Tea After Dark. It's been a while since I did me a little breaky episode, so welcome back. We're going to be talking about our freak numbers. We're going to be talking about our erotic blueprint, and are we sexually matched with the person that we with? Is there such thing as sexually dismatched? Yes, there is. I googled, guys. So let's just get right into it. Into it. To be a freak or to not be a freak? That is the question. What is the answer? I asked my Instagram followers what some of their freak numbers was, and honestly, they exaggerated, okay? I don't know from experience or whatever, but I said 1 out of 10. I got 20, 99, I got 100, which honestly, now that I think about it, the people that answered, that may be true. Them some old freaky people. But do you know what your freak number is? Honestly, I don't think I know what mine is. I think mine is mostly based on comfortability. If I'm comfortable with you, you might get the freak in the sheets. But if I'm not really comfortable with you, you are always gonna get a lady in the streets. If that makes sense. You know how they say lady in the streets, freak in the sheets? Yeah, you don't get the freak part. Sorry. Now, I've been in situationships or relationships where I can go without having sex, like not because I want to or choose to, just because I don't desire the person enough to want to have sex a lot, if that makes sense. So it led me to believe that maybe I just wasn't sexually attracted, or maybe I wasn't freaky enough for that person, or whatever the case was. But now that I'm older and I've had some experiences and my boyfriend now, I realized maybe I just was not sexually matched with those people. And maybe it's because we were just a sexual mismatch, or it's because we didn't understand how each other were sexually. So maybe if we would have looked into what we're going to get into this with this episode, maybe it would have been more. Now, recently, everybody has been on this Netflix kick because of the pandemic and things like that. So every now and then I go on Netflix to see what's new, what's like coming up, like what can I get into. So I found this documentary by Gwyneth Paltrow. It's docu-series, something like that. And it was called Sex Love Goop, because she has like this sex toy educational line called Goop, and she made like a little docu-series about it, and it covered different situations that can occur within a relationship that can ruin or misplace the sexual nature of the relationship. So the first thing they got into was sexual mismatch. I was like, oh my God, it was so meant for me to see this docu-series. And when I tell you, sis educated me, So I'm going to start with the situations that really didn't relate to me, but may relate to some of you. So one of them was a lesbian couple, and I guess this was like their real first lesbian relationship, and they weren't really clear or sure on how sex should be for them. So their main thing was, how can we liven up our sex life as lesbians? There's not like an actual penis and whole situation, so you have to find ways to spice it up. So they were basically introduced to different toys and different ways to use your fingers to get to the G-spot so that everybody is content. And when I say they actually did these things on the docuseries, you guys have to go see this. This was crazy, but that's one of the things, just not knowing. Next, one of the couples were grandparents, basically. They were like in their 70s. They had recently gotten together. They're both divorcees, have children, grandchildren, things of that nature. They were to the point where they just weren't comfortable with the way they looked. And a lot of you don't know that once you get older, that doesn't mean sex stops. Sometimes people want sex even more. So the gentleman, he was just turned on by her, right? He loved her. He wanted to be next to her. And plus, he was at that old age where, he just want to hump, grump, and get it done. So they had a freaking, like, mentor, I guess you can call her, come in and get butt ass naked with the lady. Butt ass naked in front of a mirror, and talked about the things that were wrong and the things that were right with their body, and just feeling comfortable being naked. Next two situations were basically another lesbian couple that felt trauma affected their intimacy. So a lot of it had to do with the women's line in their family. So all the love that the mother didn't feel, the daughter didn't feel from her mother, the mother didn't feel from her mother, and the mother didn't feel from her mother. So basically, and all that means, trauma can affect the way your sexual relationship or your intimate relationship is, period. As far as affection, loving on someone, kissing someone, hugging someone. Some of that family trauma can actually affect all of those things, and you just never know until you either experience it yourself, or you see it in the docuseries with Gwyneth Paltrow, like I did. And the other was a couple who basically kind of like migrated to America basically and fell in love, got married within months, and within months of being married, they went straight into parenthood, had one daughter, and then they had their son, and they became so routine that everything revolved around their kids. They wake up, make sure the kid's good, go to work, come home, make sure the kids is good, go to bed. And it became so routine that they started to want a divorce. Like, it got so bad. So the woman got tired of being the head of the family. The husband was just like a provider. He wasn't a leader. The wife was the head, and he was just the body. Everyone knows the woman is the head of the family anyway. But it became a turnoff to her. Like, I want to feel wanted. I want to feel led. I want to feel dominated. And they had a mentor come in and teach them that too. Sex Love Goop. Last but not least, my spirit animals, my spirit couple, the sexual mismatch couple. So the fiance was someone who loved foreplay and needed just a little more intimacy, a little more touch, feel, love, that type of thing in order to be aroused. The other fiance, the husband, the boyfriend, just turned on. Like, she could be washing dishes and he would attack. Like, around, give me some of that, boo. And it's not that she's not turned on by him or not wanting to do it. It's just like she needs a little more to get her in the mood. So they had them take a erotic blueprint quiz to basically figure out if they were sexually mismatched, or did they just have separate desires that they had to look into to figure out the balance. So of course, your girl had to go and take the quiz. So I'm going to break down the 5 different type of erotic blueprints, and then I'm going to give you guys my results. So the very first one I saw was energetic, which is basically you're turned on by anticipation, tease. You're very sensitive to touch. How many people can relate? So the next one is sensual. You're basically turned on by all 5 senses. Seeing something, you can see something, it turns you on. Touch, smell, taste, all of those good things. Basically, but you need to be in a relaxed situation in order to connect with your partner sexually. So that means some nice relaxing music, maybe some good foods, a little foreplay, you know what I'm saying? Then you're ready to go. How many can relate to that? Next, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you think you may be, but you never know until you take the quiz. Now, the next one is sexual. You're basically turned on by the act, the idea, just general sex. Porn, sexy clothes. You're ready to go with whoever is ready to go with you. Now, sometimes that can come off as so many other different things. But again, you will never know until you take the quiz. How many can relate? Next, had to get a snack. Next is kinky. Basically, you're turned on by the taboo of things. Now, this may not be that weird stuff you may see on Pornhub, but it could be being blindfolded, using a prop, being tied up, things of that nature. And some people who do have that kinky nature are sometimes ashamed of what they're turned on by, and they suppress it, and then that leads them to have bad sexual experiences, maybe not really connecting with somebody really sexually, maybe not even having good sex ever because they're not fully living in their sexual kinky truth. No, it's not the same one. Finish that bad boy. Anywho, last but not least, we have shapeshifter. A shapeshifter is basically someone who is turned on by all of the others. The energetic nature, the sensual nature, the sexual nature, and the kinky nature. All of those things can turn them on. Now, the downside to being a shapeshifter is that you sometimes conform to your partner's sexual nature if your partner is not willing to try one of the other ones. So that leads you to kind of resent them a little bit. You're uncomfortable in your sexual situation because one of those things are not enough. If you can get you and your partner to a place where you can do kinky with a little bit of energetic and a hint of sensual, a shapeshifter is happy. Now, let's get into my results. The results are in. And of course, your girl is a shapeshifter. Why wouldn't I be a shapeshifter? I am not a people pleaser, but I like to make sure that people are pleased. Now, after discussing the results with my boyfriend, we basically came to the conclusion that I am not a flat out freak. Like, there are things that I dream up in my head that I probably will never do because I am a scaredy cat. But I have the right person who makes me feel comfortable enough to want to try or want to do things that he is comfortable with and things of that nature. So I have come to the conclusion that it was y'all, it wasn't me. We have come to the end of this episode, guys. Get your freak on. Get your freak on. Get your freak on. I encourage each couple, each single, each triple, whatever the hell you guys are these days. I don't fucking know. It's a lot going on in the world today. But I encourage everyone to take this quiz. That way you can liven up your relationship, fix your relationship, fix your sex part of the relationship. Hell, you can go into your next relationship knowing what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to try, what you're not willing to try, and see what that person is on. And that way y'all can compare, contrast, and keep it pushing or get the mushing. I don't know. But I will make sure to leave the web address for the quiz right here. I will also put it in my bio so you guys can hit that. You heard me? I would like to thank all my little sexy teacups for coming back and getting a little nasty with me. We might go a little deeper, but I gotta bring some of my girls on because I am not one to really see, the outspoken sex stuff. But around my girls, I feel comfortable and I'll be willing to share a little more because your girl had passed, but I've changed. Miss Amazing, over and out. I'll see you guys next week.